Hey, board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back in the Gumbo pot, this time with another Kickstarter preview. We're taking a look at Surplus of Sloths, a little card game from Weird Giraffe Games designed by Charlie McCarran. It's coming out on Kickstarter pretty soon. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of how it plays and then give you some thoughts about it. This is not a review because it's a Kickstarter project and I don't really like to review Kickstarter games. So let's get right to the table and I'll show you what it's all about. We got a deck of 5 different types of funny little sloths. Number one, I love the alliteration. So good on Weird Giraffe Games for coming up with that. Love that surplus of sloths. And what we're trying to do is we're going to be drafting these sloths from a river of cards into our hand. We're going to take turns doing that each round until we run out of cards. And at the end, we're going to try to use those cards to make runs in each one of the suits. The person who has the biggest run gets to take the remaining sloths that we didn't draft, the surplus of sloths. And we score the points that are on the face of the cards, multiplied by any multipliers we get. And the multipliers are these X cards, which are also wild when we're trying to make runs. So it's not too thinky, but the drafting part is pretty cool. Some juicy decisions. Do I want to get one of those numbers into my hand to make that perfect run that I think I can win? But maybe that surplus in that particular suit has got a lot of points. And so if I don't draft that card, maybe I can send those points down there and try to win that and score more points than the other players. So how's the game played? Very simple. We're going to, depending on the player count, we're going to take a number of sloth decks, suits, 1 plus the number of players. So let's say I'm playing just a 2-player game. We would use 3 decks of cards here, and then we'd shuffle them all up. I'm not going to play the whole game. I'm just going to kind of show you a little bit about how it plays. We're going to shuffle these cards up. We're going to deal 3 cards to each player. In this case, it's a 2-player game. And those 2 players are going to pick one of the cards to seed the surplus of sloths. Okay? And they'll keep the other 2 to kind of start on the ones that we're collecting on the runs. So let's do that. There. All right, so I've got my 3, and I've got a nice little run here already. I've got a wild, and I've got the 1, so I've got a 1-2. This is a wild, but it's just a low number because I don't have anything else with it. And it could be a multiplier, so I think I'm going to leave that there. And we're not going to play for the other player. We're just going to stick that one in there. Okay, so then we flip these over, and we've got our surplus. So these are the cards and the values that we're playing for the end of the game. Then we seed 2 rivers, and that is, again, 1 more than the number of the players. The active player is signified by this little token, which should be upgraded to a nice cardboard chit in the game instead of a tiny little eraser, although it is a cute little sloth eraser. The active player is going to choose one of these 2 rivers to pick a card. So, you saw my cards. I'm kind of drafting those yellow ones, but maybe I'm already ahead probably. So maybe I want to seed this down here. So I don't want to draft that one. And I know there's a pink one here, this little flower. Maybe I'll take the flower into my hand. And then the other player, let's just do it random, blah, 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 blah. Other random takes that one out. Whatever is left goes to the bottom. Oh well. Okay, so whichever card's not drafted goes into the surplus. So now we've got 1 of each one, and then we'll refill. All right. Now, this person's the active player. They're going to pick one of these. Let's just say they take the green one, and they're going to take, because there's a nice little number there, and they know that one of these cards is going to go in there. I don't want that X because I know he's trying to work on the green. And maybe I can grab another one later, so I'm going to grab that one, sending this one. But now, this one's worth 7 points. We got to be careful with that. So we flip this over. All right. I'll do 1 more round, and then we'll do some scoring. Normally, you play until you run out of cards in the deck. So, but I want to show you how the scoring works. Active player comes back to me. I'm still working on those pinks to try to get, or actually the golds. So I think I'm gonna. I'd like to send that back down there. So I think I'm gonna take the X instead, and let's just see if I can get lucky and get one of these. Blah, blah, blah. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. Come on. No. Ew. No good. Okay. So it's multiplying nothing right here. So we'll get one more round in. The active player is going to take one of these cards. Probably take the one to send one of these big cards down there. I'm going to take the 6 to make sure nothing happens. Yeah. And then the 5. Okay, so let's just say that's the end of the game and that we have all these cards. Everything's already been drafted. All right, now it's time to reveal. So we're going to start with this left side, and we're playing for 5. And remember, the X's are either 1X is a doubler, 2X is a tripler, or 3X's would quadruple whatever that score is. So right now we're playing for 5 times 3, which is 15 points. That's a lot of points in this little game here. So I can make a pretty cool run. Look at this. I've got a 4, 5, and 6. That's probably unbeatable, but let's see. I have no idea what the other person was drafting. They've got a 1 and a 2 and a 3. Okay, so they also have a 3-card run, but my number is higher with my 6, so I would win these cards. These get discarded, and I collect these for my points. Okay? Then we go on to the next one. Let's see the yellows. I have a nice little 1-2 run. But the other player had a 4-5 run, so they win that 6-pointer. And we take that out. And then the last one we're playing for the 7 points. All I had was an X. They had a 5. An X is wild, but I'm not doing anything, so it's basically a 1. The 5 wins it, so they win those points. Discard these cards. Okay, so what do we do? I only won 1 set, but it was the good one, and that was worth 15 points. They won 2 sets, 7 and 6, 13 points. Very, very close, but I lucked out with the win with these pink cards. That's how you play Surplus of Sloths. All right, so back to the game itself. A couple of things before. This is a Kickstarter preview, okay? So that's well before the project even came up. So the box here is not representative of what it's going to look like. Carla says they're going to upgrade the box into a bigger box with all the components fitting in there. We'll have, I've got a typical paper rule sheet that we usually get for these previews. It'll have a nice full rule book with all the pictures and the credits and all that. And some of the components will be upgraded. Like this will be a nice cardboard chit. She usually likes putting these little erasers, and I do like the little sloth eraser. Carla, by the way, if it wasn't too expensive, that'd be a fine player market for me, but cardboard chits are probably better. And there's a little bit of Lagniappe too. There are these 4 little baby cards here. These little baby sloths. They are, notice, no particular color, just the moon. So it makes it easy to score because if you can get one of these into your hand, then it's going to be a 0 adding to your run for all of them. So if you got one of these in your hand, then you can apply this one to all of them. Instead of discarding cards, the baby sloth gets into a run, let's say a 0, 1, 2, 3, and let's say it wins, it beats everybody. You discard all the cards in the run except for this one. So now it can work on the next one too. So could be powerful. It's a little bit of Lagniappe. Over here in the Gumbo, we do like our Lagniappe. So that is, and of course, everything else is going to be upgraded into all those things. The reason I don't do a review is very simple. Years past, we did a review of a game that was still in the Kickstarter phase, and so many things changed by the end, the review didn't even make sense. So I don't like to review games that are in there. I'll just tell you what I did like about it. I like the fact that it's fast playing. I love the alliteration of the sloths. So it's kind of weird that it's a alliteration of sloths with the surplus, but the game is actually pretty quick playing. You're just making a quick decision. You're looking at the 2 rivers, and only the active player decides which of the 2 rivers it's going to play. Everybody else has to just kind of follow along with that one and then pick whatever's there. So I do like that snappy decisions. It's a really breezy type of game. I like games where we're trying to collect stuff and we're watching what other people are doing it. So a gift of tulips is one that uses this 2-card mechanic where one goes into public and one goes in hidden. A game like Elysium, where using a kind of a bidding mechanic to get these cards, or games like that. I do like those kind of games where you're picking cards and you're trying to. What's that game? Nidavellir is another one where you're trying to make these, trying to get all these numbers together, or 5 different ways of scoring, but you can kind of see what people are doing and you can kind of draft against that. And that's what I like it. But this one is distilled down to only 15 or 20 minutes. So you got to you have to actually watch what other players are doing. You don't know what's in their hand, but you can kind of guess a little bit if you're paying attention by looking at what your opponent is drafting. So you might have to zig while they're zagging, or throw up a roadblock that still kind of helps you. It's not like those juicy type of decisions. It's one I'm going to be taking a look in the Kickstarter project. Again, not final components, so some things could change, but that's basically everything that we'll probably see in the Kickstarter project for a surplus of sloths. And I want to thank, you should know that this was, just a free Kickstarter copy, a prototype for us, but also Carla and Weird Giraffe Games, Carla, Nick, and everybody at Weird Giraffe Games are big supporters of Southern Board Game Fest. They provide games for our contests and for the badges. So, take that with a grain of salt. They are friends, and they are big supporters of our local convention. I'm going to have this with me, and Carla will be at Southern Board Game Fest. So if you'd like to try it, and this Kickstarter is coming in the middle of March, so it'll probably still be running for Southern Board Game Fest. So if you see this video, get your badges for Southern Board Game Fest, SOBO as we call it, at southerngamefest.com. And you can meet Carla and Nick and talk to them about the game, or try out our copy, because I'll have it with me in my bag. That's great. Southern Board Game Fest, March 29th and 30th in beautiful downtown Lafayette. So hopefully we'll see you there. But until next time, or until SOBO, Laissez, bon temps rouler.